The most renowned town in all of motorsports, Indianapolis, Indiana, plays host to a picnic of power with side-by-side mud racing serving up the sloppy thrills. Coming up next. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the all-stars of the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the National Network. Today we're at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis for the 10th annual four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong, and we have a treat for you today. Not one, but two mud pits. The best in the business going side by side.
Gary, you're exactly right. Two mud pits, but only one starting light. So like you say, it's going to be a rocket ride side by side. The current world champion, Ron Pence with Tater, he'll be going in the first round, and we were just looking at the draw sheets. He goes up against none other than the quickest man in the sport, Tom Meeks. That's just going to be one of the races. They're literally going to be flip-flopping and flying inside the great Hoosier Mile today in Indianapolis.
It's like a political campaign. We're going to sling some mud here in Indianapolis. Stay with us. Today we're at the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis. Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong, part of the show and shine here of all the truck enthusiasts. Right now we have the Class 6 Open Unlimited. Superchargers, nitrous oxide, just about anything goes in this class, Army.
Here it's the old Southern style, run what you brung. But the trick is, one shot only. You're actually chasing the clock, not the guy in the other lane.
Side-by-side mud pits, and there is Bob Monk in the mud stud. He will be in the far lane as we take a look at Jay Hemsley in the Phantom 510.
Now, Hemsley is in a Jeep body vehicle. I say a Jeep, it's a fiberglass replica. Meanwhile, Monk's a 27 Ford Roadster. So, again, the body styles are even run what you brung. Whoa, look at this first shot of the day.
Look at that run by the mud stud in the far lane over there. Bob Monk, and he turns in a time of 3:35. Wow. 3:35 for Bob, and the Phantom 510 comes in at 5:29.
Well, Bob Monk shows exactly how to make the run. Right out of the box, tippy-toeing on top of the mud. He's not getting down in it very deep at all, but he is leaving a rooster tail, Gary Lee. And I wouldn't want to get caught in that rooster tail.
That rooster tail will get you muddy for sure, but that was a picture-perfect ride on top of the mud. As we take a look at the S-Kicker. This is Jeremy Finley out of Virginia. He pulls up alongside Shane Back in the Attitude Adjuster. And we've seen Shane Back on a number of occasions here on the National Network.
I'll tell you, it's amazing in this sport. Again, they're going side by side with the race and the clock. There's no easy guys in this sport. Back will drill you in a heartbeat. Finley in the other lane, he knows what he's got to do. Finley goes ahead and leaves. He's trying to trip his clock on the other side. Then Back comes after him. Now, we're out of room on the big end of the track, and there's
not a lot of shutdown area here at the State Fairgrounds. 3:32. 3:32 for the Attitude Adjuster.
They don't need to call it. And a 3:05 out of the far lane, Gary. So they're almost in the 2-second bracket already, the second run of the day. Now, Back sits patiently and lets the other guy get out. The rooster tail's not going to bother him as much as it did in the first round. But down here, you call it the shutdown area. I'm going to call it the do-see-do area because everybody's dancing on the big end of this track.
Well, he gets up on top of the mud. Now, we're showing some different discipline here in letting one driver go. Remember, it's not a race against the individual. It's a race against the clock. And the S-Kicker, well, from that other camera angle, it looked closer than what it actually was.
Yeah, well, let's see who comes into the picture now because Back was right back in there. That's got to be spooky running into that. Now, we were talking about the luck of the draw. Two of the baddest guys in the sport, strongest runners, quickest cars in the sport. Right now, we're going to be looking at them.
Well, there's Ron Pence and Tater. He lines up alongside Tom Mintz and Shake Me. This could be the battle for the championship right here. The time to beat 3:05.
This is the one everybody walks away from the car over to the fence. Pence leads first. Meeks goes after him. Pence on the other end. Meeks. Now they're trying to shut him down.
Well, they're almost together. They almost got the barricades down there, those Hydra barricades. Those units are filled with water. That's one way to wash the mud off the car, though. You smack one of those things.
Yeah, but your philosophy on that's a whole lot different than mine. Wow, look at that, 302. Hey, we got a war going here today. Pence reaches over, waves to Meeks, and they both gonna have a big smile on their face. That is what professional mud racing is all about.
Let's look once again. Far lane, Ron Pence in Tater. He clips the light at 3.02.
But right behind him, looky here, the little red vehicle coming. Now, Pence is cranking it to the right. Now, Meeks is trying to work in his area. At this time, they both hit the throttle. Watch is trying to stay away from each other.
Look at this. Look at Tom Meeks.
Oh, right.
292. Ah, that driving is worthy of the Joey Chitwood Thrill Show. One more look at the two fastest competitors so far this afternoon. That's what they call a bootleg spin.
That's right.
A bootleg spin. Army Armstrong, a better shootout you will not find. Tom Meents at 292. Ron Pence, 302. And a look at, there's the big smile on Tom's face. Let's talk to Ron Pence.
The top end of this track got awfully spooky down there. You guys look like you're do-si-doing. What happened?
Well, I started sideways, and next thing I knew, I seen Tom, the rear end of his was coming at me backwards down there. I don't know really what happened, but it's getting pretty close down there.
Who winged the throttle? A bunch of smoke came up. Was that both you guys trying to...
Both of us trying to pull away from one another.
Good run. The crowd loved it. He gave us a thrill. We'll see you later.
All right, thank you a lot.
I do believe they gave themselves a thrill because when you're in that dust, you cannot see anything. Now, let's go back and talk to Tom Meents.
Tom, a 2.9, and they threw in a dance on the end of the run at the other end. What happened down there?
Well, I don't know. I know everything looked good, and once I come out the end there, I seen a whole lot of Pence's car there, and I didn't know how I kept from hitting him. I gassed it hard, and somehow he stayed away from me.
I'll tell you what, you set the mark for everybody to shoot at. Good luck. See if you can hang on to it.
We're going to need it.
I'd like to know what his blood pressure is right now as we take a look at Mark Green in the Mud Buster. That's a Jeep-bodied mud racer. And alongside another Jeep, this is Stanley Trimble.
Stanley, he's a school teacher and had his vocational class put this chassis together for him. It's got to be a good project. Those young guys really get into this thing. But right now, he's in tall cotton going after a 292. Let's see what's going to happen. Runs a supercharged engine.
Mark Green was away first. Now remember, they're running against the light, the clock, and not against each other. 367 for Mark.
Okay, he lost a cylinder on his run. Let's see what Trimble did.
620.
A lot of chassis unloading, a lot of bouncing on Trimble's vehicle when he comes off the finish line into the track. So you see the engine go away right here on the one that went through the finish line first. Now you got to remember they're racing the clock, but look in the far lane. You talk about a handful.
The object is to get on top of the mud and not actually drive through it.
But what
Maybe we should have a match race sometime doing this.
No, Gary, we should not. I do not want to get in one of these things.
Top Gun. Dan Brown coming up next from the neighboring state of Illinois, and he pulls alongside Bud Thompson in the Time Traveler. And I'll tell you, this Time Traveler has a reputation.
Time Traveler is one bad boy in the sport. Keep an eye on it. That 292 may not be as safe as we thought it was. It's amazing watching these guys get psyched up. Oh, Time Traveler.
He's in trouble.
Yeah. Whoa, now we got the other one in trouble.
There is a berm or a ridge on either side of the lane, and both the drivers got up on that berm. 4:37 is the time in the far lane. That's the Time Traveler. Now watch these two get in trouble again. Immediately when he gets on the throttle, he's in trouble.
The Time Traveler looked like he almost broke an axle. He turned that way, but the other vehicle got up on the berm. Boy, I tell you, when those big old tires bite, Gary, it takes just a little bit of time. Watch him when he makes immediate left. See, that's almost an indication of a broken axle. Doesn't back on the throttle. You notice he stayed in it all the way through.
It's like breaking a half shaft on a rear engine Indy car. That thing turns immediately.
Yeah, real quick. And then you just got to ride it on out.
Well, the action continues here from the Indiana State Fairgrounds. The kids love it, but I tell you, well, I don't think we'll take that unit through the mud. We're coming back with more. Stay with us. And we welcome you back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds here in Indianapolis. Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong for the unlimited class side-by-side mud racing. Here are the standings right now. Tom Meents at 292. Ron Pence at 302. And third right now is Jeremy Finley at 305. And a lot more action to come from the infield of the famous Mild Dirt Oval here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
Well, Gary, they just keep rolling all these guys into the lanes. You look back in the pit area, Jeff Colbert's coming out of New Albany, Indiana. Driving the Budweiser King, he'll be going up against a Dragonfly in the other lane. That'll be Tad Harvat out of Wisconsin. They're pushing the clock, that's all you can say. They may be lining up side by side, but they're both going after a 292 that Meeks had said earlier in the day.
The other guys, though, are digging up the starting line. That could be a concern for these drivers down in the lane. Well, it was the Budweiser King, the first out of the pit. Let's wait for the time now. There's the Dragonfly, a 3:39. Good run, but not fast enough. And Tad turns in a 3:58.
You brought out an interesting point there about the starting line. It looks like that the line's loosening up just a little bit, doesn't it? But then again, these guys are running these big scooper tires now. That shouldn't affect it as much as maybe in a pulling sport or something. They can still get a hold of the track.
Well, and there is a look at how muddy one gets. The full face helmet covered with mud as Tad starts to unbuckle and climb out. And here is a popular one, the Instant T. This is Chad Miller from Vandalia, Ohio, up around the Dayton, Ohio area. And there is Charles Durbin in axle breaker number 3, and I bet he's broken a few.
You know, the first time I ever had an opportunity to go to a mud race, I saw Chad Miller stand one of these rascals up on the rear wheels and walk it out the other end. That was down in Florida. That made me an instant believer in this sport, and the kid hadn't changed his style at all. He'll run side by side
Look
with
out,
anybody.
look out, hang on, they both do the famous bootleg spin.
That's right. I'm still going to call it a do-si-do because I'm a square dance cut. Whatever, there's some heads-up driving there. 3:42. Respectable time.
3:73 for Chad. He won't be too happy with that one, but he's done a whole lot better in previous runs. As we take a look again, here's Durbin.
They run about a 10% overdrive on the front end of these vehicles to try to keep them going straight, but boy, they have literally got their hands full. This is amazing how much these guys work in these vehicles. I had no idea they were that busy, Gary.
Well, we could certainly put an in-car camera, but the trouble is it'd be too muddy. The lens would be covered with mud.
I'd point it backwards. I'd want to know where I'd been, not where I'm going in this sport.
Well, these guys are spinning around to take a look at where they've been.
So I made it through. They're looking back to
like
see where they are.
synchronized swimming.
It's a good name for a race car. Check it out, Gary.
The Money Pit. The Money Pit with Fred Wilhite out of Decatur, Illinois. And I tell you what, motorsports can certainly be exactly that. A money pit in the near lane, and there is Light Flight Scott Smith from Zeeland, Michigan.
Boy, if you were back in drag racing in the 60s and 70s, you saw both of these bodies down. The 23 Ford in the far lane, 48 Fiat in the near lane. But right now we're mud racing at the world-famous Indy Mile. The Fiat goes through first. Whoa, that 23 was coming on a big end, Gary. And they keep winging that throttle when they get out. I guess that's the way they get the vehicles to settle down.
431, and there's a 329, a good run.
See, they'll come out of the pit. Watch the car on the left. Okay, the car on the right will complete his run first. Good run. Now the left side, I want you to watch it. You'll be able to see bumpy ride the right side. The left side, he's out of the throttle, but watch him. He'll wing it right there to get the car settled back down.
I think we have to underscore the fact, Army, these guys are not competing against each other per se. They're competing against the light. That's why one driver may let the other driver go, and then he trips the light himself. As Fred Wilhite climbs out, let's talk to Scott Smith.
Gary, Scott Smith sitting right in the middle of this thing. Fourth quickest with a 3.2, but, man, it just doesn't come easy at all, does it?
Sure doesn't. It sure don't. Pretty wet out there today.
You know, what's wet and what's dry in mud racing? The average person would think everything's wet.
Well, not necessarily. When you look down the middle of the track and you see a lot of water and mud's falling in together, it generally means it's pretty wet.
Well, I'll tell you what, under 4 seconds on this day is a good day to do it. You're sitting in the top 5. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Well, Army, as Scott walks away from your position down there, if we had an award for best appearing car, it might be between one of these two. Chemical Reaction with Steve Bareman out of Holland, Michigan. And across the way in the far lane, we have Loose Screw, Dave Verbotnik. These are good-looking mudders.
You know, these are young guys in the sport, too. This sport is really going in a positive direction. You got good equipment, new young blood coming into it. Gee, it's amazing. 292, that's the trick number today, though. That's our lead time. Meek sits on top of this thing. The kids are going after him right now. Oh, the 27, oh, he's in trouble, Gary.
He's in trouble big time. Nose over almost. He gets out of his lane. He's disqualified. There's a 446 for David. But Steve had all he can hang on to. A broken tie rod for sure. Maybe some more serious suspension damage.
at the top of the screen is his lane. He went completely over that berm, over the next berm, and landed in the competitor's lane. Okay, top end camera's going to show us. He comes out, hooks a rut, wacko.
Into the median there and over into David's lane.
David did some good driving there. He
Well,
stayed
there was
cool.
no contact for sure, but a lot of damage to the chemical reaction. The something break, or he just simply horsepowers his way off to the right?
I think the torque of the engine just got him over into that right lane, up into the berm. And like I say, it takes just about a half a second to get everything slowing down, and those big old tires won't back off. See, he threw both the wheels on the left side off of the rim. Completely slung them off. Just slung the tires off the vehicle.
Well, as we work to remove the wreckage from the lane, Tom Meeks continues to lead over Ron Pence and Jeremy Finley. So we have a lot more coming your way from the Indiana State Fairgrounds. It's the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. Stay tuned. More coming up. Welcome back to the Indiana State Fairgrounds. The four-wheel and off-road Jamboree offers a host of activities not only for the truck lover, but for the entire family. And for more information, call or write the Special Events Promotion Company. Well, we have had some action here this afternoon, Army, and there's part of it right there, the aftermath of the chemical reaction jumping his lane. And let's take a look at what happened earlier. Now, this is when the quick times were set. That is Tater, Ron Pence in the far lane.
Okay, he goes through, sets it sideways, and then looks over to his left, and who does he see? Whoa, Mintz. Now, what do? Both of them burp the throttle, aim it the other direction, and go. Now, you got to remember, these guys, they race each other all the time. The vehicles go through safety inspection. The NMRO people have the safety specs on them, so that's why we haven't had any injury here. Meanwhile, this vehicle comes out, hooks a rut.
That's Steve BAREMAN in the chemical reaction. He is completely out of his lane, disqualified. A lot of damage we see to that car. And right now he is standing by trackside with Army Armstrong.
Steve, when a vehicle jumps like that, are you just along for the ride? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, you just got to wait till it lands. You got to do what I can do just to keep it out of the other guy's lane. I didn't know where he was, didn't know what. I just wanted to stay out of his lane as much as I could.
It actually looked like he was not even aware that you were in the lane. He was still on the throttle when you were sitting out there. They had everybody kind of holding their breath.
Yeah, I didn't know where he was, so I looked over and seen him go by me. Look, thankfully, he took off a little later than I did, I guess.
Okay, real quick, what caused the car to jump in the lane like that?
Must have just went sideways and caught the other bank.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
That is a scary part of motorsport, when something happens and you don't know why.
Guaranteed tonight about 3 in the morning, he'll wake up in a cold sweat. He'll figure it out real quick.
Our final two combatants, Jeff Ballard in the Port Brothers Express, and he'll pull up alongside Frank Lowery in Bonkers, the last two drivers to have a shot at Tom Meents, and the time to beat is 2.92.
S10 in the far lane, going against a homemade vehicle out of Mount Sterling, Kentucky, an underslung chassis. Gary, look at that. They built this vehicle as low as they could, thinking the top end would be amazing. And look at that, it does. It works.
Man, about mid-range, he took off like he hit passing gear.
Yeah, it's amazing. Once it settles down on top of the water, the Port Brothers Express can run with anybody.
Jeff Ballard's time, 3.79, so not quick enough. Let's take a look once again.
Now watch him at half track. Compare him to the other vehicle, Gary. Like you say, passing gear right now.
It just takes off.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty impressive.
Better believe it's like an underslung, super modified chassis, though.
Motorsports fans enjoying the autumn weather here in the Hoosier State as we take a look now at the final standings. And once again, it was that side-by-side race early in the event that produced Tom Meents and Ron Pence in first and second. Tom Meents at 292 and Shake Me, and Ron Pence in Tater at 302. Jeremy Finley third in the S-Kicker at 3.05. In fourth position is Scott Smith in the light flight, and also Shane Back in Attitude Adjuster was fifth, rounding out the top six. Bob Monk in Mud Stud. So once again, our victor today, Tom Meents. He's standing by with Army Armstrong.
Well, Gary, many times we've done mud racing. We've stood at the end of the track at the end of the day with this young man. Tom Meeks, you seem to have a handle on this sport.
I don't know. We just got a good combination going right now. Thanks to my dad and the rest of the crew. They really helped out a lot.
Yeah, they helped out a lot. But, son, you are a driver. I'll give you that.
Well, somebody has to put the pedal down. That's the easiest part of the whole deal.
Yeah, but it's better than a blue ticket ride. Congratulations. It's a good show.
Thank you.
He might have a difficult time convincing some folks up at the grandstand about how easy it is to drive one of those things. As we look at this matchup again, by luck of the draw, it was Ron Pence and Tom Means together. And boy, he got out of shape right there. He may have been even faster, but he got out of shape about mid-range. They both do the bootleg spin at the end, come to a stop, and Tom Means wins it here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds with a clocking of 2.92. So our congratulations to Tom. That will wrap it up from the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Fall Nationals. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to be with us next week for another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power. As the track crew goes to work and the fans leave the Indiana State Fairgrounds, here's news of an exciting new home video release from Diamond P Sports.